Welcome, everybody, to the Fareway Thanksgiving Day Parade. They said it couldn't be done, folks. They said it was all just pie in the sky. But Frank and his friends have taken Turkey Day to new heights. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Rodeo at the 𝗀̈cie World's Toughest Rodeo, January 10th and 11th at Wells Fargo Arena. It's rodeo and a whole lot more. Come early for autographs, pony rides, and more. See more action, the best entertainment, and be part of the fun. It's too great to wait. Get tickets now at HiVTix.com. It's wild, it's western, it's pro rodeo at the 𝗀̈cie World's Toughest Rodeo, January 10th and 11th.
Two guys, two Chris's, one network. Iowa everywhere. It's time for Two Guys with Chris Williams and Chris Hassel. Presented by Fareway Meat and Grocery from the Channel Seed Studios. Where? Everywhere. Live and always on demand at Iowa Everywhere.
Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
That's Thanksgiving music?
Yeah, we're sitting around the table. The candles are lit. The turkey's on the table.
I thought all Thanksgiving was everybody just bitching about politics and just yelling at each other.
I've never seen or heard that at any holiday dinner I've ever been to with family members all over the political spectrum. I've never been to a place where, God damn it, Uncle Joe's talking MAGA again, or
Trump
Jesus
again.
Christ, here comes Van Woke. He's talking about AOC again. I've never had that, but I'm seeing a lot of stuff on social media like, well, goddamn right, I'm not inviting you to Thanksgiving this year. You voted for Trump.
Yeah, what's going to be
real?
What's going to be the talk around the Thanksgiving table this year? What's the hot topic?
It's got to be tariffs.
Really? Is that very exciting to talk about? Foreign tariffs.
This turkey cost me twice as much as last year.
That could be a thing. I'm thinking in our circles, it's got to be sports.
It's got to be the college football playoff at Iowa State.
Jesus, absolutely. What a week! Where do we start today? Do we start with
incredible week?
We had the playoff rankings come out last night. Iowa State playing for the right to go to the Big 12 championship game for the most part. But also, we just watched Iowa State play 2 games in Maui in 24 hours, and both went right down to the wire. Where you want to go?
I think we start with Maui, and then we go into the football conversation, which will be the overwhelming majority of the show. First of all, we are presented by Fareway Meat and Grocery. We are recording this Wednesday morning. If you have not done your Thanksgiving planning yet, go to Fareway. Support the people who support us. We are in the Channel Seed Studios. I bet you old 𝗀̈cie up there in Grand Junction probably went out and shot his own turkey this morning.
That's just another thing.
Huge shotgun and just blew the head off of that thing, and it's gonna.
I hate it when people post that stuff on social media.
Why?
Because I don't want to be scrolling and come across a dead animal. I don't want to see it. That's fine. Do it.
Reality.
Whatever.
How do you think that animal gets on your plate, Chris?
I don't want to see it on social media.
That's what we do. We kill.
I don't want to see baby's first shot dead deer. We went out with
it's called the food.
We went out with little Eli into the forest over the weekend, and look what he found. He got a 6-point buck or whatever the fuck it is.
That's great. Great for those kids that get to experience
it's great.
That.
Don't post the goddamn
fantastic.
picture of the
nature.
blood and the bullet wound and all that.
It's literally how God created us.
Got on your table,
we kill them.
I understand that you have to kill them to get them on your plate, but I don't want to see it in my social media.
God, you're in a mood.
Well, it's only Wednesday. I've got 2 more days of work. I have to work on Thanksgiving.
Oh, you
So
poor bastard.
cut me some slack, Jack.
I'm tired. Yeah, these Maui games. I'm not even complaining because I love it. Like, it's so much fun this week, especially with the Iowa State games being Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Normally, it's like a Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday basketball tournament that they're at. With when you take the day off for football on Saturday, or excuse me, usually it is a Thursday, Friday, Sunday basketball tournament.
Is that what it was last year for Iowa State?
Yeah, it's normal because I'm usually at that tournament, but Maui is earlier in the week, so it's all spaced out perfectly. So yeah, I've been up late the last 2 nights, doing pre and post game on Cyclone Fanatic for the Iowa State games. Both of them went down to the wire, as you said. And
hey, did this not turn out exactly as I laid out on Monday's show? And you were poo-pooing me. You were saying, you're all down about Matt. I said, you lose to Auburn, all of a sudden this tournament becomes a lot less appealing.
True.
You play Dayton, and now you play a Colorado team that you're going to play twice during the regular season. This is going to be 3 times you'll play Colorado.
They're the season opener in the Big 12. Do you know that?
Jesus Christ.
But
Scouting.
You could still get 2 quad 1 wins here, and
I don't know that Colorado's going to be a quad 1 win.
Neutral. It just depends on how they are, right? Like a neutral floor game against
UConn.
them.
I'm talking about at the end of the year, which is all that matters. You really think Colorado on a neutral floor is going to be a quad 1? I mean, I get 50, with 50. The power of the Big 12, their numbers are going to increase.
It's 50-50. I think their game in Hilton will be a quad 2 for sure. I think that this one's 50-50.
But like all of everything that was out, oh my God, we're going to play Auburn first. Oh my God, then it could be North Carolina. Oh God, then it's going to be UConn, the 2-time defending champs. And what do you get? You blow an 18-point lead against Auburn. You play Dayton, have to squeeze that one out down to the wire, and now you play a team that you're going to face twice in the regular season that's in your own conference.
They got a bad loss, though, right? If that means something to the SEC in football. So
say that again.
Yeah, you have a bad loss.
We have a great loss,
or a good loss. Yeah,
it's a good loss.
It's elite loss. Thank you.
Yeah, Auburn killed North Carolina last night. I don't know if you probably didn't stay up for that, but
hell no. I didn't even stay up for the Iowa State game, but I got up oily this morning and I watched the game and I even listened to your post-game podcast.
Oh, well, thank you. They needed that one. That would have sucked if you
had to have it.
If you dropped that one. So that was a, nice little comeback that they had. They did get it down in the first half.
Gilbert was awesome.
Gilbert was incredible.
Jesus. I was so impressed. I mean, like I said, I just got done watching the game. He gets popped right in the nose by almost a 300-pound man, and he goes to the line and makes 2 free throws, and then an incredible bucket to really seal the deal and win that for Iowa State with all that going on. I mean, you try that yourself. You try getting hit right in the nose by a huge man, basically punching you.
The best part of that play was when 𝗀്cie ran off to hold him back from not going to punch that guy.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't have ended up good for Gilbert because that guy could have held him off with one hand.
No, but the vibes, like I said this on my post-game show last night, that it went from like a feeling of dread of starting 0-2 and then staring down UConn to like just relief. That's all that I felt with that game last night.
That's a good way to put it, relief. You had to have that one, and it was a 50-50 toss-up in that second half. Because Dayton is a good team. You're right. Like Dayton's one of the better – Dayton is a team that some people will call mid-major from a non-power conference, but that's BS. I mean, Dayton will draw 15,000 plus for every game. They're a lot like Creighton in my mind. I mean, that's like a professional basketball organization that they have there.
That'll be a good win at the end of the year, but man, you just didn't want to lose it. You know, that would have really sucked to go out there and blow that 18-point lead against Auburn and then not find a way to get past Dayton.
Van Winks has a hot take for this game. He says for Maui.
You have a hot take?
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw my rant the other day.
So you've been ranting about a lot of shit last couple of days.
I didn't. I saw this in the rundown that you were all pissed off about an announcer. Or something. What is going
that
on?
what you're going in on now?
Well,
Let's hear it.
vaguely. Okay. We get all these amazing teams in this tiny little gym, right? It's cool. It's a cool atmosphere. Like I love that Iowa State fans
great.
is like
It's the way college basketball should be played.
But there's these marquee these top level players, and like they've got kids on the baseline, like 5 feet, and look how close the fans are. Like the players are like falling into the stands.
The landing.
And I don't.
You're not bitching about the fans being too close.
I think they need a better gym out there.
Oh my God! What the hell is wrong with you?
They're playing in like a high school gym, and these guys
That's the
like
charm. That's
there was
the charm
a guy
of the whole
for
thing.
Auburn yesterday that barely just fell back and like landed in the stands and nearly had to get taken out of the game.
Oh, stop it!
I actually saw that.
Spoke that you were all upset that the announcer offended you because he called the kid a floor mopper.
Yeah, listen to what this guy
give a
said.
little attention over there. But you want to play big boy basketball. This is an opportunity for the young fella to get used to
I
it.
agree.
Taking a charge. That's right. Rubbing his chest a little bit. He's going to
Insensitive.
If you're going to sit there.
That kid is going to be telling that story for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
That's
if you're
one
going
of
to
the
sit there,
best
you
things-
got to be prepared for that.
That is one of the best things that will ever happen to that child.
Van Winks, you've done the same thing I've done when you shoot college basketball games for video-wise. You sit on the baseline, and you're going to get run over. I remember back, it was that great Drake season, the Keno Davis season. I went to cover Drake at Butler when they used to do the great, what was it called, bracket something, where they would match the top mid-major programs against one another for like a flex scheduling game late in the season. And they played at Butler, and I got my ass trucked and totally knocked backwards and off the floor. But that's part. I mean, I didn't get up and start yelling at somebody or think that I'm way too close to the court. It's just what happens when people are running around.
I love that court. That is an all-time bad take, Van Winkle. I love you, brother.
Let's get the fans back a little bit.
You haven't even mentioned the thing that you were calling out the announcer for calling the kid a floor mopper.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the kid is doing? Isn't he out there to mop the floor? He's not just a fan.
That was Chad Baker-Mazzara, who was, to his credit, making sure that little floor wiper was okay. And
yeah, what's wrong with that?
Little floor wiper.
That's what he's doing. That's what he's out there for. He's floor wiping.
Oh, Matt.
Oh my God, Van Winks.
That's all right. You guys are both in bad moods. I'm in a great mood today. I have no complaints.
I'm not in a bad mood.
You seem like you're in
until
a bad mood.
Van Winks opens his
yelling.
mouth.
You're yelling about everything. Van Winkle's pissed off at everyone. I'm just having a nice cup of coffee and enjoying the best sports week of the year.
Well, that's the other thing. I saw Van Wink tweet.
I love
and
this.
he was like, Iowa State football coming down to the wire against Utah. Iowa State basketball needed a last-second shot to beat Drake, and now Iowa State, Maui, every game's down to the wire. This is awful. What are you talking about? You won several of those games. You won the football game.
They were stressful.
This is
You're not wrong.
This
You're
is
not
what it's
wrong.
like to be a fan of a real program. And Iowa State's finally gotten there.
That's true.
Okay? You got your football program on the brink of the Big 12 championship game. You got a basketball team that's top 5 in the country. You got a women's basketball team that's great too. This is what it's all about.
I said the last 72 hours have been hell.
I think you're just pissed about the 49ers.
Why would you say it's been hell? It's been great.
This is my therapist always tells me about when you get mad, it's something that you're not actually mad at because it's misplaced anger. I think the 49ers and the whole Purdy just collapsing, I think that is what has gotten you so upset.
Deep-rooted anger this year. Yeah.
So what time does Iowa State play Colorado today? Like some people are going to be listening. So people are going to be listening to this, and the game's already going to be over.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd be pissed off if I was an Iowa State fan that went out to Maui. Thinking I'm going to get to all these marquee games.
Oh, stop it. It's
and
about
I see
the experience.
I see a team from the A-10 and a new Big 12 team in Colorado.
I mean, the Colorado matchup sucks. I agree with you. Like, you'd much rather be playing UConn
Wouldn't
today.
you love to see, like, forget these, calling it a 5th place game or a 7th place game. Let the teams in the losers bracket, like, if they want to flex out of a matchup, do it. Like if TJ and Dan Hurley agree that they would rather play each other, have Colorado play somebody. Have Colorado play Dayton.
I don't know, because then we're getting into that Jeff Goodman tweet that you sent me about how they're.
That's true. But I'm only saying in the losers bracket. I'm not saying in the winner's side.
I'm just glad they're not in the old kiss your sister game, because that would have tipped off at midnight your time tonight.
Oh,
if they were playing UConn, they would tip off at midnight.
Wait, hang on a second. So they're going to play the championship game before the last place game?
Yeah, the last place game is the last game of the tournament.
Oh, God. I'm sure Dan Hurley is just
I was just
fired up about that.
Dreading that, because we would have done our pregame show at 10:30. And, whatever. It is what it is. I would rather be playing UConn, though, because there's way more to gain.
Yes.
What you can have at the end of the year. But, again, I do think it'll be 50-50 if this Colorado game is Q1, just because they're in the Big 12. They're going to be a decent Big 12 team. They're not good. But that playing in that league, it just bumps up your metrics so much that it makes it worth paying attention to today. So, again, 1:30 Iowa time is the scheduled tip-off.
What's the line for Iowa State's game?
10.5. Iowa State's a 10.5 point favorite. I told you guys not to bet on Iowa State last night. That was a bad line.
Yeah,
that line stunk.
You sent the group a text
favored by that.
You're like,
much.
When the line was, what was it, 9?
Yeah.
And you're like, what was it, ken_palm? The metrics have this at 5, and that's right where it ended up.
Yeah. No, that was a terrible line.
Now, if Iowa State wins this game,
did you watch them play North Carolina? They're a good team.
Well,
they are.
You can look at this. I'm bitching about how they're having to play Colorado, but both of those teams, this could have easily been the semifinal matchup, Iowa State and Dayton.
Yes.
Iowa State hangs on against Auburn. Dayton doesn't blow the 21-point lead against North Carolina. That's the semifinal matchup, and that's kind of how I think you'd expect that semifinal matchup to go, and then all of a sudden you're heading to the championship to play a Memphis team that looks really good.
Dude, Tyrese Hunter.
Yeah.
Tyrese Hunter is
he just needed to get out of Texas,
balling for Memphis right now. Holy shit. I don't know what Penny did to that. He's hitting step-back threes. He looks really good. He looks, at this point in the season, like one of the best guards in all of college basketball. I would say that 𝗙cie_𝗹𝗹𝗿𝗆 does, too.
Jeez, yeah. Gilbert looks amazing.
After the last 2 nights.
And he gets to the line so much, which is so important in the game these days. But I've got something else to bitch about.
Oh, Jesus
Big surprise.
Christ. Well, it's Thanksgiving. What are you just complaining
You're calling
about?
me out for bitching? Jeez.
Well, you're bitching about things you shouldn't be bitching about.
What now?
I do think that part of this is the fact that Iowa State didn't play anybody with a pulse before this tournament.
Yeah, I can
think
debate
that was
you on this. I don't disagree with you.
Well,
I just what do you want them to do?
I've got
to
play somebody.
They play
I'm not saying play
next week.
Listen, I'm not saying play Marquette before Maui. I'm saying don't play the 3 or 4 worst teams in the country before Maui. Play somebody. Don't play IU, Indy, and Mississippi Valley State before you go into there. Don't have Kansas City be the best team. Play somebody. Play Richmond. Play
Richmond. They're too good.
Oh, to play somebody. I'm not saying play a ranked team. I'm not even saying play a top 50 team. Just play somebody that's not in the 300s, okay? I was talking with Matt Norlander yesterday. And
he's out there, right? Is Matt?
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
and he brought up something interesting, that after the first day of games, that the teams that played the 2 easiest schedules in the country the first couple weeks of the year, Iowa State and UConn.
Mm-hmm. And
both of them lost in the first round in games that were really, really tight, that they weren't especially on the Iowa State side. They're up 18. They had never been in a situation this season with this group where a team comes back and fights your ass and all of a sudden puts you on your ass. And they just didn't have that experience. What did they do yesterday? Well, they had that experience from the day before. They fought back and they beat Dayton.
I think that you're right. I think everybody's right here because I'm not even arguing against that. My argument would be for they are working on a total body of work and not necessarily just to win the Maui.
But don't you
Invitational.
want to prepare yourself the best you can for the biggest non-conference games you're going to play in a situation like this? Wouldn't you
You're
rather?
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we
and
know
look,
how these metrics work.
I understand how the metrics work, but fuck
Yeah.
the metrics for a second. Like, get your team in a spot where they're going to be in a better position to win a game down the stretch against a top 5 team. I'm not asking for much. Like, I'm not saying
you're not wrong. Like, I'm not gonna
Iowa State and UConn ranked 363 and 364 in strength of schedule entering that tournament.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm just saying that I think they look at it as more of a season whole thing and not just what can we do to win the Maui Invitational. Yeah,
Who would have thought Iowa State would have had a higher ranked offense than defense this year too? And Ken
That's
Palm
the other thing. What's
ninth
going
in
on
off-
with the defense?
That's a real thing, Maddie, and I'm glad you brought that up. So, like, if you were to ask me, like, what are you concerned about at this point? It's just wild. Like when I watch, like, I'm tweeting fewer times per game now because I find it very distracting. And then you look at the like the amount of people, but I watch my notifications because I want to see what fans are thinking. The amount of people that are just like pissed at the offense, and that, like, that's not what the problem is with Iowa State right now. They're not getting the live ball turnovers and fast break points like they have in the past. Like, that will make the offense like better because everybody's like, oh, they dribble too much in the half court. Yeah, obviously they're never going to be a great half court team. That's just not what they do. They turn people over and they run. And like at the end of last night's game, it's people find it fascinating that 𝗀𝗙𝗶𝗶 isn't in the game at the end of the last because they need stops. Like they get a freaking stop, hand it to 𝗀cie_𝗵𝗵𝗿, and go to the fucking rack. Like that is the game plan in those spots, and it's just that's where they got to get better, and they will. I'm really not concerned at all. These big guys who they have, to your point, Chris, have up until this tournament never played high-end bigs ever. Maybe in a couple of non-conference games when they were at Charlotte, and the San Diego State guy Jefferson, to lesser of an extent. Like he played at a really quality program, but they're missing rotations. Like it's stuff that's really coachable. They're going to get a lot better between now and then. But to your point, Chris, like they hadn't seen any real competition at all, and then all of a sudden you're up there against Auburn, and it's like the Auburn's.
And you know what Auburn had? A game
linebacker
against Houston that they had already played.
Who's like a spitting image of Iowa State. So it was like they had already had a scrimmage against Iowa State leading into that one. So yeah. I think all these points are valid, but Maddie, you're right. Like I just wonder if that's going to be Iowa State this year. TJ is not going to, like, he has his system, but he's not going to like shove a square peg in a round hole. I think that he would rather be 10th in both or 20th in both as opposed to 3rd in defense and 65th in offense. Right, that's where these teams make Final Fours, is when they're more well-rounded. Yeah. So they got to find a way to be really good at both. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily have to be elite in one.
And you've actually got bigs that can score and like create offense this year. And
I actually thought that was what hindered them against Auburn. I thought they relied too much on their big guys. It was like, quit throwing it into Jackson at some point. Like that's not what you do.
I was pissed 𝗀𝗙𝗵𝗶 wasn't out there for the final shot, but I can see reasons why defensively.
Yeah, it's because against that team, you don't want to have to play Milan at the 4. Matchup-wise, it's a disaster. And that's why, and I get it, like we all want him to be shooting in the corner all the time. And they'll make adjustments. There's no doubt. And they've been playing 𝗙𝗵𝗶 off the ball more, which looks weird. Maybe they adjust that.
Is 𝗙𝗵𝗻's play concerning to you?
It doesn't look great. I wouldn't say I am slightly concerned. I'm not overly concerned. He did have off-season shoulder surgery. He's probably
Is there any part of you that's thinking, even though Iowa State's saying he's fine, is there any part of you thinking that he's not fine?
When you watched him shoot those free throws against Auburn, it was like he looked hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he moved better last night. He didn't play
He just
great.
wasn't out there very much.
No, because he got into foul trouble. But I thought he moved better last night. So let's see how he does today. I'm not going to ring the alarms. Yeah, I think what's going on with 𝗙𝗹𝗹𝗏 is they're saying we want to play Keyshawn on the ball more. They've moved 𝗙𝗹𝗏𝗏 to the corner, and I don't know if he's used to that yet. And I don't know if that's a good move. Maybe they'll move back. That's my analysis on it at this point.
All right, time to talk about Williams. Time to talk about Iowa's win over South Carolina, or is it USC? Upstate. 110-77. Iowa gets the victory.
How was Carver last night?
So as much as I'm bitching about Iowa State not playing anybody before Maui and then having to play Colorado,
I wasn't even going to say it because
it's full disclosure here. I'm nitpicking, okay? I'm nitpicking Iowa State. Iowa, they coming off that loss to Utah State. Look, they have played Utah State and Washington State, so it's not like they haven't played anybody, but nobody that's expected to be a really good team this season. And now, believe it or not, Williams, it's Big Ten play. They jump into Big Ten play next with Northwestern on December the 3rd. What is that? That's a week away.
Oh, I forgot the Big Ten does this.
That's next Tuesday. Iowa jumps into Big Ten play with Northwestern. Then they go at Michigan, and then it's the Iowa State game.
Wow. Should I go to the Iowa State game this year? I was wondering that. I'm pondering.
That's at Carver, right?
Yeah, I don't like going to Carver. I always get bad things.
Why? Is it too loud for you? To hurt your ears?
No, I mean, I always get harassed by somebody. I'm hoping it was chilled a little bit.
Wasn't it Kinnick where you had the beer can thrown at your head?
Yeah, one year a bunch of the students, they had a homophobic slur and a picture of me in the student section. It's fine.
Wait, you were offended by that?
No, I thought it was hilarious. I was laughing at it. I was like, that was like 7 or 8, 9 years ago. It was a long time.
Do you have a picture of this? No. I'd love to see it.
No, I don't. It's probably out there somewhere.
Were you wearing that same flannel, that pink flannel that you were wearing on the show on Monday? Where
that was my George Gay impression.
One of our gay friends.
Yeah.
One of our gay friends was making fun of you. George Gay. That's what you wear next year when you go. I'm gonna go as
to
George
Carver
Gay for Halloween
in cowboy boots and just flamboyant cowboy shirts is what I'm going to do. No, I don't know. Like I'm debating. Because Rob will go there for Cyclone Fanatic and cover it for us. And I think I'm going to go. I like to be at those games. I like to be at all the Cyhawk games.
Yeah, give it a whirl.
Yeah. And then Chad leistico and I, we used to go to the Vine and eat wings before the game, too. We always have a little tradition. Anywho. Yeah, I didn't tell you this. I didn't even know Iowa was playing Utah State last Friday. It was a very nice. I was at Mega Bar in 𝗀𝗃 with our friends Aaron and Steven, the marketing guys.
Oh yeah,
there.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Iowa came on. It was like a nice little early Christmas present, like to have a local game to just pop on right in front of us there at Mega Bar. I don't have many opinions on Iowa other than I think that like Sanford played like crap in that game against Utah.
Yes.
He's going to get better. Like
he took it. He took it. He's like, if I don't play, he didn't say this exactly, but if I don't play like shit, we win that game. He's 1 for 13 from 3-point range in that Utah State loss.
Yeah.
But you're right. I don't think I don't know that he'll ever have a game that bad the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I still think Iowa's a tournament team.
I do too.
That's really. I've hardly watched them though. I mean, I watched them there, and then I want to say I watched like their first or second game of the year. But when they're on that Big Ten app, it's like really hard to like figure that out. And
some of them, Big Ten Plus, I think you have to have a subscription to. But
yeah, well, whatever. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Do you have?
They were on real Big Ten Network last night, though. I think.
Oh, good. It's on my DVR.
I had it on my YouTube TV.
I'll check it out here at some point. I want to thank our friends at Full Court Press, the family of restaurants. The Thanksgiving weekend coming up, a lot of family in town. Take them over to the Iowa Tap Room.
Man, I bet those places are going to be hopping tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
So tonight, Andy Fales has labeled this day, he calls it Drunksgiving.
Oh, that's good.
Because this is, everyone's got, well, not everyone, because I don't. Everyone's got Thanksgiving off and then that full 4-day weekend. And in a lot of cases, you're back in like your hometown. You're meeting up with buddies that you haven't seen in a long time.
Drunk on this night.
Drunksgiving.
Back after when you come back from college and you would just stay out
Yeah.
until 2 and be so hungover on things. We used to do this thing in Clarinda called the Turkey Bowl, and it still happens, where we would all go play a pickup game of football on the high school football field, and we raised money for Toys for Tots and did all this stuff. And it was just a bunch of hungover 30-year-olds that can't run anymore. Some guys are puking in the corner. Just the biggest drunk fest you've ever found. So yeah, but don't puke all over the place at the Iowa Tap Room.
Yeah, that's a classy establishment.
Get the brisket grilled cheese. That's what I had when I went
that
there.
Sounds really good.
That is really good, actually. Yeah. Also want to thank our friends at the Iowa Event Center. They have a big weekend coming up. My daughters and wife are going to Disney on Ice on Saturday morning. I was very proud of my wife. She said we will only do it around the Iowa State game. So they're going at 11 o'clock and then get up to Ames, 6:30 on Saturday night for that one. Maddie, what else do we have coming up at Iowa Event Center? Man, they've been making announcements left and right.
Pentatonics is coming up in December, so we're getting into the... No, Pentatonics is the a cappella group. Boom, boom, boom. My wife's been playing that in the car nonstop. Pentatonics.
Okay, so we got that coming up. We got some comedians coming up.
Yeah, Matt Rife. They just announced Matt Rife. You guys heard of this guy?
I haven't, but
This guy's, yeah. I actually, the first thing I ever saw from him was about a year ago when he was in Des Moines, and there was like some woman in the audience that would have banged him in front of everybody right then and there. It was crazy. I was kind of embarrassed.
Viral.
She would have made.
She made him cookies.
It wouldn't have been making love. It wouldn't have been making love. It would have been like XXX.
With this guy?
Yes.
Man, is it me or is the stand-up comedians? They're a lot more popular because of Netflix. Am I wrong?
Is that why? I don't know. There's been a revival though.
Well, these guys are doing all these stadium tours now. Like that never happened 20 years ago, did it? Like only like the top end guys,
Chris Rock.
Seinfeld, Rock, yeah. But like it feels like I don't know. I don't remember this 5 years ago. 10 years.
It's changed a lot. A lot of these guys will do like those theater tours, but now what they do is they'll put the stage in the middle of the arena and they'll let people stand around it. They call it in the round, so it's a little bit more intimate, but it's still like a big arena setting. Yeah, in the round.
Chris, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Your dad thinks it's Thursday. He just got into the chat. He says, "Happy Thursday, fools." Even William's dad. Don, it's Wednesday.
Laying there on his recliner with his tennis shoes on, with his quadriplegic legs dangling off
Oh my
the edge.
God! Speaking of that, you know how your dad always sends us those pictures of his legs?
Yes.
This is why I don't ever get on my personal Facebook account. Like I just get on my professional one and post links and stuff. I got on because I have all my like friends from back home that they treat Facebook like it's how they all communicate with each other.
Really?
A buddy of mine, an old racer, posted a picture. He was like working on his car, and I don't know what happened. And his leg, he like broke his knee, and it just shot to the right. So like it was just his thigh and then his knee just like that. And I about puked up my coffee this morning.
That's how I feel when I see the dead animals when I'm scrolling Facebook. Before
would you
we
post
move to
that?
football, I just want to button up the Iowa basketball talk because the biggest story we didn't even hit on, 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗶 and Brian, I think that's Brian, my old buddy from high school, who's like
Is that the guy with the
he'll go out on a
Oreos
golf course and shoot like 63. No, Brian's not the Oreo puke guy. I'll try to bring up a story with him. So one of these days when you said, is that the guy who taped the Oreos to his balls? I'll say, yeah,
He
that's
taped
him.
it? I thought he glued it.
I don't know if I think it was glue.
I thought he took Elmer's
It was
glue
either
and
glue
rubbed
or
it around his
double-sided
pubic
tape.
region and then crumbled up Oreos and just rubbed it all over.
But 𝗙cie injured his ankle.
Last night he did?
Yes, and at this point, and Iowa suffered some injuries early in the season. That's kind of been the story so far. All I know is that McCaffrey said it was a bad sprained ankle, and the thing you worry about there is that it's something that could linger the whole way, because this
high,
guy,
low,
he's
all that
like
stuff.
been my favorite player to watch on this team this year. So I don't know. At least there's a week before the next game, and he's got some time to rehab that thing. But I don't know if they'll know how bad it is until a couple days.
My last thought on basketball: can we all agree? I saw Keith Murphy's post on this, and I was thinking the same. I made a similar one. The first half Iowa State played versus Auburn, holy shit.
Jesus, yeah.
They are loaded. Like that. I know there's Tinsley, Pfizer stories and stuff like that. That's as good of a half, I think, as I've ever seen Iowa State play basketball.
And they
Auburn.
lost the game.
I know. Like it's
God.
but they were insane that half. Like,
I mean,
God,
there was a
bottle
moment there
that
where I was
up.
like, is Iowa State the best team in the country?
I know. Where I'm like, Jesus, like when Jefferson's hitting like step back threes and stuff, like, my God. All right. Iowa plays on Black Friday against Nebraska. Iowa State 6:30 kick. Let's start with Iowa. We did more with Iowa State basketball. We'll just
Okay.
We're going chronologically here.
Okay.
6:30.
I can get
the
down with
Nebraska
that.
game, a night game. Feels weird to me. I've watched Nebraska play on Black Friday my entire life. That is usually a day game. But whatever.
There was one time they played at 2:30 at Nebraska. I know that, but yeah, this should be an 11 a.m. game. God damn it! And you know
it's
what they're
Big
doing?
Ten football. Like play it early.
You know what they're doing now? They're doing another effing blackout.
Really?
Blackout at night, wearing black pants.
I think you should just. It's going to be cold. Just let people wear whatever the hell they want.
And, yes, and you know what that's going to do? That's going to make the Reds stand out even more in the stadium. So, like the Nebraska fans that are there, and there will be a lot of them, that's really going to stand out because we know they're going to have their big, bright red coats because they're all fired up. They just clinched a bowl game. They stormed the field. Kirk Ferentz, the first thing he said, and I don't think he was doing this to be facetious, but like the first thing he said at his press conference was, and I'd like to congratulate the Nebraska Cornhuskers for becoming bowl eligible. It's a great accomplishment for them. Thank you. I think he was being serious about it, but it is funny to me. But we've got this 5-star quarterback on the Nebraska side going up against this walk-on goofball for Iowa and Jackson Stratton.
Here, let me give you a
And
stat.
Iowa's still favored.
Want a stat?
Yeah, I love stats.
Dylan Raiola, the 5-star Nebraska quarterback, in 4 road games this season, 2 for 6, or 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, only 5.9 yards per completion. They've only won 1 road game at Purdue. Stat leans Iowa.
So they played Purdue on the road. That's baked into those stats, and he only has 2 passing touchdowns on the road?
That is correct.
Now, I think they've played some tough road games. Yeah, they've played at Ohio State, at USC, at Indiana are the other ones. So the competition has been tough.
And they were just dog garbage in that Indiana game. They played Ohio State really well.
What did they find in this Wisconsin game where they just blew
Wisconsin's
the doors
lost 4 in a row. Do you know they're not even bowl eligible?
Well, yeah, they're 5 and
That's
6.
crazy.
And Iowa beat Wisconsin 42-10. But
I used to think that I could coach Wisconsin to an 8-4 record back when they were in the Big Ten West. But honestly, who would have thought that Fickle would struggle as much as he has? Shocking to me. Just shocking to me.
Yeah.
I don't think Nebraska found anything. I think Nebraska all season, I've liked them. You know that. I think they've been a good, not great team.
I think they've
better.
underachieved this year.
I think
even
they
though
have
they
too, with
finally
all the
got to a
starters.
bowl game.
Yeah, I don't think that they found anything. I think that they're a little bit I don't know, a little bit of like a Utah-Colorado feel to them, where they played in close games. And
Oh, yeah. I mean,
know.
Just listen to this. Illinois is ranked. They lost by 7 to Illinois.
Yeah.
At Ohio State, lost by 4.
Mm-hmm.
Could have won that game. At USC, lost by 8. UCLA at home, lost by 7. So all those one-possession games, and then the outlier, the 56-7 loss at
I don't think
Indiana,
they found anything. I think they just are better than Wisconsin.
I don't know. In that group text with those Nebraska Knights or whatever the hell they call themselves, Nebraskans, 𝗀•𝗃𝗃𝗄𝗃, they were like, oh, look out. Nebraska's found something here. You know, Dave 𝗙𝗹𝗹𝗵𝗲𝗿 and Rusty
about
Snatch.
Iowa, though? Like,
I am, yeah. Am I confident? Yes. Iowa's the better team. They're at home. They've been just blowing the doors off teams at
they're
home.
A different team.
I think they're going to run all over Nebraska's ass. Now, I do think that Raiola and that offense will put up some points. But I would be surprised if Iowa does not win this game. I don't see Iowa finishing 7-5. Look, if you got that preseason number at 7.5, this is the game right here. This is it's all coming down to this game, whether Iowa's going under the total or over the total.
That was the Phil Steele lock of the year.
But it's going to be Jackson Stratton, according to Kirk Ferentz. It sounds like Cade and Brendan Sullivan are right there for the number 2 quarterback. I cannot see Cade getting put out there in this game. I can't. I just can't see that. Like even in mop-up duty.
Wait a minute. Who's the backup? It's Cade and who?
Brendan Sullivan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought
he's close to. I guess he's.
God, Linus just must be
further along. Well, he's got that like broken. He had a cast on his non-throwing arm when he was dressed last week.
So it's like a real injury then. It's not.
Oh yeah, it's yes.
Okay.
He could go out there and run, but
okay, never mind then. I take that back.
But so
I knew that they said he was hurt, but like.
Yeah, he's hurt. Yeah, he had to have surgery. But we learned that McNamara is practicing, but we still don't know. I don't think anybody asked Ferentz yesterday, has he been cleared to play? Because that's been the big thing, right? Oh, sure, you can practice, but has he been cleared to play?
Why don't you send him a message on Instagram? God, Campbell's comments on injuries yesterday were hilarious. They were like so vague. Like, yeah, he's breathing. He's got oxygen in his. Yeah, I mean, he can physically walk. Yeah, he was there. He was at practice walking around.
But it sounds like Cade's going to walk for senior day.
He should. Don't boo him. Don't.
I wouldn't boo him, but I wouldn't be surprised if some do.
God, the vitriol towards that kid, young man, whatever we're calling him.
Well, did you see the image circulating on social media this week was the, I don't know, was it 𝗙𝗍𝗋𝗆? The McNamara jersey has been marked down from $130 to 99 cents. I don't think that's real. I think that it means $99, but the way that they put it up there was 99 cents.
I think it was photoshopped from what I understand. It was like $12.99.
Do you think it was $99.99
and then
they just
$12.99 is what
No way.
That's what some guy wrote. I don't know.
No way. If it's $12.99, Williams, you need to go buy one and get him to sign it so you can put it up next to the Petrus jersey.
Damn it! Yes, that's exactly.
The problem is he's gonna charge you to sign it.
This is such a fascinating case study to me because all these there's a lot of vitriol towards Cade McNamara. I could argue both sides. I think he brought a lot on himself, but
yes.
I also would make the argument that he's just being used as a scapegoat because fans always want like a reason or somebody to be mad at. And
why do you think? In what way is he a scapegoat?
Because
he was paid to come in and be the savior of this program.
Yeah, and I'm saying that I don't think that anybody that they could have gotten would have done that last year. You know, with the offensive system, the way that it was.
With the scheme?
Yes, it was so bad. And I would also say that Cade McNamara was never very good. And they overpaid for him. And if you're going to be mad at anybody, you should be mad at the coaches in the Swarm. Like that would be he was never that good. I tried telling you guys. Like he had 5-star guys all around him, had a bad completion percentage, and wasn't mobile.
You are right about that. You're absolutely right about that. It was a mistake by Iowa to bring him in, clearly. But as you said originally, he brought a lot of this on himself. I mean, he went right into the narrative that he was going to be great.
I agree.
Randy Peterson who was part of the media back then, says media built him up to be great even before he got to Iowa. And that is true. And shit, I was part of that. There's the picture. So it says, yeah. So you think that, somebody in the comments says it's now $91 for the McNamara jersey on the Shields website. But the picture, it says 99 cents.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird deal. Just, I don't know. I'm not defending anyone here. I just, it doesn't make you look good to boo your own team.
Well, 𝗀𝗃
Any
Hawk
fan
says
base.
Petrus didn't get booed, so I doubt Cade would. I think it's different with Cade because Petrus wasn't paid.
Yeah, different
Petrus
era.
Petrus
doubt.
wasn't brought in as like this supposed savior, and he was always a great team player, and that's been the real question mark these last couple weeks is how much of a team player has Cade been the last couple weeks. The way that Iowa has portrayed it hasn't been very good. But my score prediction for this game, as I said, I think Nebraska is going to score. I've got Iowa 30, Nebraska 24.
So that's right on the number.
Right on that number. I'm going to take Iowa, though. Is it 6? Is it still 6? Iowa minus 6?
It was 5.5 or 6, yeah.
I'm absolutely taking Iowa.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little lower scoring than you. Let's go 24-17.
Yeah, and you might be right. Look, it's going to be cold.
I think Iowa wins, though.
But, you see
I think
Iowa
it'll be lower scoring because I think Iowa will get a little bit stubborn.
Man, when Iowa wins, they blow teams
You're
out. They beat Maryland by 16 points, and that was their closest victory of the season. Every win has been by 16 plus. All 7 wins. You beat Wisconsin by 32. You beat Northwestern by 26. You beat Washington by 24. Beat Minnesota by 17. Troy by 17. Illinois State by 40.
Move on to Iowa State. I want to thank our friends at Freedom Tire.
Freedom, freedom, freedom.
Tire. Locations all over the Des Moines.
Oh, by the
metro.
way, because, we talk about the priests and all that.
Locally owned.
I met the St. John's priest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the game when I was.
How was he?
Oh,
Did
good man.
Tino introduce you to him?
Very good man. Yeah, he was just kind of roaming around the locker room.
Of course he
looked
was.
like he was about 85 years old. But it was good to get back in touch with a priest.
Does he know
been a while.
Sister Jean?
Probably not.
A lot
That's
of
Chicago and New York, not very close. Sister Jean's 20 years older than him, so
Ooh.
doubt it.
Anyways, I don't even know what. I was just thinking college basketball, and Sister Jean came to mind. Our friends at Freedom Tire, locally owned, support them. That's a good thing to do. Is support these great local companies that support us. Freedom Tire is one of them. Need that oil change? Need those tires rotated? Remember our friends at Freedom Tire.
Speaking of Freedom Tire, Quentin Crowner, who heads that Central Iowa thing for us, like we're running the thing, he was chiming in on that Cade McNamara jersey.
Oh,
stuff
was he?
too? He told me that he would buy that jersey for me and ship it to me.
Oh, wow.
But he thinks it's 99 cents. Got news for you.
You have to cough it up, Quentin.
Yeah.
Iowa State playing in arguably the biggest game in program history on Saturday night. Kansas State comes to town. The line is just right around 2.5, 3. Maddie, maybe you can get us an updated line on that. I haven't looked in a couple of days. The Cyclones come in at number 18 in the college football playoff. I thought I saw Kansas State in there as well at 23.
Yeah. 24, I think.
24.
So it's a ranked on ranked game, which is good.
It's good, but the problem is if you win, knock them out.
Right. And, whoever you play, if you make it to the Big 12 championship game, they're going to be ranked too. So an opportunity here for back-to-back ranked games. And really, I mean, we were focusing on Army for a while to keep the Big 12 out. Look at Tulane, brother. Look at those green waves. They are ranked ahead of Iowa State at number 17,
which is blasphemous, but whatever.
And if Tulane ends up being ranked ahead of the Big 12 champion, the Big 12 will be shut out, assuming Boise wins out too. The Big 12 will be shut out. But I do not think that that's going to happen.
I don't either.
Because Iowa State's going to have, I guess
Arizona State.
Yeah, they're going to have an opportunity at a ranked win. Tulane's game in the American Conference Championship game against Army doesn't look as good as it did before. Army's not ranked anymore.
Too.
Tulane's got a big game tomorrow.
Yeah, they play Memphis.
Right? A couple 9-2 teams
on Thanksgiving Day
on 6:30 ESPN. Yep.
Yeah, that's like the only. Is that the
that
only
is sick.
Thanksgiving night game in college football?
So we all got to sit around.
Yeah, you should. You should. I don't think this is going to be a problem for the Big 12, but you really should, just in case. You really should be rooting against Tulane. Because there's still that scenario out here. It's still possible.
It has not been. Matt, you asked me the other day, what's the perception problem of the Big 12? What should the Big 12 do? And I've been thinking about that question, and it's very simple: win. Right, like when you get into the playoff, win some games.
Yeah.
The problem is they did that once with TCU, and then they get just humiliated.
That is a good point, because when people bring up TCU,
they don't talk about the Michigan game.
No, it's almost like that's been forgotten. That's your brain has been washed of that. All you think about is, well, TCU didn't belong because they get lost to Georgia by 50.
I was looking at if the bracket would hold out, which it likely will not be this way, but if Arizona State had to go to, let's say Arizona State's the Big 12 champion, this was the projection that I saw. It was on Action Network. And they had to go to Ohio State.
Oh, God.
They'd be a 17.5-point underdog.
Yeah. It's looking right now like the Big 12 champion will be the 12 seed and have to go to the 5, which that's no man's land. I mean, that's because then you're looking at a top 3 team that didn't win the conference, whether it's Ohio State or Oregon.
Notre Dame.
But you also want to root against Notre Dame. That's the only way you could start.
Is that a tricky game at
Notre Dame at USC? I do
tricky?
think that. Yeah, and I think if Notre Dame loses that game, they should not be in. I mean, you can't lose to USC and Northern Illinois and still get an at-large spot in the playoff when you don't have to play a conference championship game.
And you don't really. I mean, you have that A&M win, but other than that, they don't have great Army, whatever. They're still a neutral field. Go ahead,
to me,
Matt.
there's no way that the Big 12 will finish below like a Tulane, because you're gonna the conference.
I don't think
the
so
conference winner's gonna have 2 ranked wins going into that. So,
assuming Matt, it's not one of these crazy scenarios.
Right, that's what I'm
Baylor.
saying.
There
Like
you go.
if several of these teams lose, like somehow you get a
That's the only way.
3-loss team in there.
like
But
if Colorado
yes,
somehow sneaks in.
I don't think it's going to happen either. I think the Big 12 champion is going to be ranked ahead of Tulane, and the Big 12 champion is going to be on the road in the first round of the playoff unless Boise somehow gets beat. If Boise gets beat, all of a sudden you're in bye territory.
Did you guys see what 𝗀cie𝗰𝗶𝗹 said yesterday about the Big 12 situation?
Matt sent it to me. I think I have a different take on what he said than you guys. But do you have that clip, Matt?
We'll see
or do you want to save that for overtime?
Yeah, we'll save that for overtime.
Because I think that's a
Yeah, I
longer
have it.
discussion.
I do have
you
it.
do?
You want to play it?
Yeah, let's just play it right now. We're on it.
Other teams can lose in other leagues, and it's that league's really good. We lose in this league, and this league stinks. And I don't understand that. As a conference, we need to get together and figure some things out. because for a bunch of teams to be 9-3 and us not get any of those things in the college football playoff, then we've got to cancel one of these games. I don't care what people say. We then go to 8 games in league play, or stay with 9 but play an FCS or play a group of 5. And I'd say, well, that would hurt you. I don't care. You say what you want. 10-2 looks better than 9-3. And we're going to visit at this year's conference meetings, and because we have to do things to benefit our league for the 12-team playoff, not to just benefit our league in general. And we need to be able to get 2 and 3 teams in the Big 12 or in the 12-team playoff. The carnage that you're seeing is going to allow for one most likely.
Well, I agree with you, Coach, and that's what we said all offseason and got skewered for. The issue he's going to have, it's like you want to get paid a certain amount of money by these media rights companies. You can't just replace league games with, all right, Jacksonville State. You know, like that's the issue.
So
it's like
the SEC can do this. You can't. You're in a different spot than the SEC.
Yes.
You're never going to get the benefit of the doubt. What he said, if the Big 12 did that, that would be even worse for the Big 12 and for college football.
They can't do that financially. Like they're trying to squeeze every ounce of juice out of the grapefruit that they can already.
And look,
like,
it's not like they're the only conference playing 9 games. The Big 10 plays 9 conference games. I know the SEC doesn't, and that's bullshit. They should.
Well, and it does matter. Like when you look at these, like in the way that we think the committee's doing it, like they're just basically looking at your losses. And when everybody in a 16-team league plays each other in extra time, there's going to be 8 more teams with a loss. Like it's math. The Big Ten's in the same spot, you know, like. So, but I just don't think it's as simple as, oh, okay, we're going to go and schedule FCS teams now.
It is.
You want to make a certain amount
That's
of money.
going to drag you down.
And it's a little bit like the night games, like bitching about night games. They own you, and if you want to make the money, and you need a certain amount of money, and money's going to be even tighter now that you're going to have to pay the players, you kind of just have to suck it up and do whatever they say. You sold your rights to them.
And I think it should go the opposite way. I think the Big 12's only way to real relevance and respect is being able to beat Big 10 and SEC teams. And you can't just rely on what you do in the playoff, because in the playoff, more times than not, you're not going to have that team coming to you. You're going to be going to them, or it's going to be a neutral field if you get the bye.
The perception, too, of the Big 12, like this whole thing started years ago when Texas and Oklahoma, or Texas specifically, underperformed constantly. And then Oklahoma would get to these, get to the playoff consistently, and they would lose these games 65-55, right? Like that's where the whole perception of this league really started. I would have loved to have been in the playoff world back when 𝗀liche and Briles and those Big 12 programs were around, because I think you could have really won some games. I really do. Like the way the league was built in. But it's ironic that the perception of the league started to really suffer when Texas couldn't get over the hump. They kept making bad hires. It was Charlie Strong. It was Tom Herman, whatever. And now they're the ones that are gone, and at least one of them is going to reap benefits of being in the SEC. I think the other one's going to have a hell of a lot more difficult time, but
you should be trying in the non-con to schedule Big 10 and SEC teams. Try your damnedest to do that. I think you're going to be shut out of it. I think the Big 12, or I'm sorry, the Big 10 and the SEC are going to form this alliance and say we're not going to play Big 12 teams anymore, and that's going to make the Big 12 even more irrelevant in playoff conversations than they already are. But you're right. This is huge. Whoever comes out of the Big 12 has to not embarrass themselves in the playoff. And I don't know, who do you think is the team that could do it? I don't know. It's tough. I don't think it's BYU.
Iowa State has the best chance, to be honest, because they're the most well-rounded of all those teams.
I think it might be. I'm thinking
I don't
Colorado
think it's BYU.
potentially.
Yeah,
because they have the 2 best players in college football. They can put up points. I don't. It's not BYU, and I don't know about Arizona State. I mean, it's a great story. I don't know. And I also want to talk when we get into overtime, which is almost here. I want your take on. We got to talk more about the Iowa State game, and who do you want to face if you win it in the Big 12 championship game?
Let's do that right now.
That, you know what that sound is? That is the sound. And maybe
like
kids still have them.
turkey.
Maybe kids still have them. That round toy that had like 12 different animals on it, and you would pull the thing, you'd pull the string, and the arrow would go around, and it would land on an animal, and it would say, "The turkey says, gobble, 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 gobble." That's what that is. That's that sound. That's how the kids learn the sounds of the animals. You don't.
Interesting.
What? You didn't have that as a kid?
No. But Elise did make a turkey hat yesterday at school, and me and her had to discuss what a turkey sounded like last night because
she didn't know that it said gobble.
Cawing. She was caw, caw. And I was like, no, we go gobble, gobble, gobble. Let's hear from our friends at Wild Rose Casino who present overtime.
I'm Steve Nauman, General Manager of the Wild Rose Casino and Hotel Clinton. And if I'm on the floor, there's a good chance I've got free play in my pocket.
Thank you.
And if you see me, just say, "Hey, Steve, where's my free play?"
Hey, Steve, where's my free play?
Yeah!
Just one more way we take care of our guests.
At Wild Rose Clinton.
Thank you to Wild Rose Casinos in Clinton, Emmitsburg, and Jefferson for bringing us overtime here on Thursday/Wednesday show of Iowa Everywhere. The Iowa State-Kansas State game, listen, it's a bad matchup for Iowa State. I know this is what you wanted to get into, and this will be interesting to see how Iowa State's defense performs against a true mobile quarterback who can throw, who can run, who can do it all. It has kind of been kryptonite for this defense this year. This team ran for over 300 yards last week against Cincinnati, a really good running team, and they can come from all over the field. So from that aspect, quite terrifying. I will say I like Iowa State's matchup on the other side of the ball, Chris. I think Iowa State will be able to score against Kansas State. But yeah, like Haycock's got his work cut out for him because you want to draw up a running game that has given Iowa State problems this year. You draw up the Kansas State Wildcats.
Yeah, is there an equivalent, a team that Iowa State's played?
They're not as good as Kansas, so that's good news, right? Like I would take
nobody's as good as Kansas right now. You want to talk a Big 12 team that could win a playoff game? It's Kansas.
Yes. Yeah, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? The Avery Johnson is.
Yeah,
he will turn it over. That's the thing. Like he will turn it over. So I could see them, but like you got to be able to stop the run first because if not, Chris Kleiman, like they will just sit there and give you death by 1,000 paper cuts all night in Jack Trice Stadium. They will just keep doing that. And I also think Iowa State's got to be damn efficient on offense. No room for any of these crazy pick sixes. I mean, how many pick sixes is Rocco? 3, 4? Feels like it's every freaking game right now. No room for any of that because I think the possessions will be low. I think Kansas State is legit going to make this thing keep it on the ground as much as possible because Kleiman's not stupid. He doesn't want the freshman quarterback throwing against Iowa State's secondary, which is really good, probably the best secondary in the Big 12. So, yeah, it's a bad matchup as far as that goes. The only good thing is that I'm guessing Iowa State will be ready for it, right? And they do have some of those guys back. We'll see how they perform.
So I heard an interesting point from Jeff Woody on Kicking It on Cyclone Fanatic.
Yeah.
So Kansas State just throttled Cincinnati, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is Cincinnati's defensive coordinator? Tyson Veit. So they run a similar defense to Iowa State.
So. Absolutely.
So now they have good tape on how Kansas State wants to pick apart a defense like that.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. You could look at it the other way, like, oh shit, they did that to a defense that's very similar.
Yeah, actually, I looked at it the way Chris did, but I'm just a negative human being in general.
It's a counterpoint.
When I was watching that Kansas State game last week, I was like, oh, shit. This is the exact same thing Iowa State does.
All I'm saying is a chance
I
of
would
some,
also guess
chance
that
of some
Tyson
snow.
Probably help. There is a chance of snow?
I saw earlier in the week about 20 to 30% chance.
What?
So,
Oh, God.
Really?
If there's snow, it's Iowa State's game.
Watch out.
Iowa State by 100.
And 𝗙𝗪 should get every single carry.
I'll check the weather forecast. I'll give you an update.
Yeah, I want to know the weather forecast. I want an update on the atmosphere forecast as well.
I think this thing's going under. That is my
What's the total?
That is my one prediction. It's like 52.5, something like that. I think this thing's going under. I think Kansas State's going to try and limit possessions. I hope it goes over because I think Iowa State can outscore them in that sense. But I just Klieman's really good, man. So Iowa State's got great coaches too. Haycock is a Broyles Award candidate this year, as he well should be. And it's got to be all hands on deck for Iowa State, right? I mean, any of these guys that have been tweeners as far as injuries go, you put their asses out there. They've got until, maybe next week, hopefully next week, but you figure that out if you can get there. But I think this thing goes under the total, will be my prediction. As far as the atmosphere goes, I really haven't changed much. Matt, have you looked at the Ticketmaster thing? I haven't. As far as I think it'll be 61.5, butts in the seat. I'm hoping you can get 55, which I know would still be disappointing, but I'm just being realistic.
I would take 55 right now.
Yeah, I'm hoping
if you
that's
actually
the case.
get 55,000 in there, it's going to look full. You can be able to spread out a little bit because it's bleachers. And Van Wink says that now there's no snow in the forecast. But
okay, I hadn't heard that.
It's telling, really, the question mark around the attendance and the sellout and all that. Just reading Anthony Beck's tweets, like he is just blown away that this is even a possibility that this game won't be full. It's like, because Iowa State is doing stuff on their own to try to sell this thing out and get fans to go, and he can't get his mind around it. But I mean, that's a guy that obviously he doesn't have the history that we do, and we've seen what happens to Iowa State crowds going into late November and especially Thanksgiving. Like, to a guy like that, to somebody that might just parachute in, you think, Jesus, this is the biggest game in school history. It's for the right to go to the Big 12 championship game, and it might not be full. But look,
I do think it'll be a good atmosphere. I think it'll be a really good atmosphere.
Look, the fans that will be there, I think that they're going to be extremely engaged. I do worry about this game for Iowa State. As many games as I've missed for Iowa State, like I missed the game last week. I thought Utah would win. I missed the West Virginia game. I thought West Virginia would win. This is right where I thought Iowa State would be going into the last week of the season. I had them at 9-2 going into this game, and I picked Kansas State to win the game, and I'm going to stick with that. I hate the matchup on the when Kansas State has the football. I think they're going to be able to run all over Iowa State, and I do think that the consternation is going to be a thing. The consternation and constipation from Iowa State fans. The woe is me, oh my God, this is just so typical. We have our destiny in our hands. I think the pressure is going to be too much.
For the team or the fans?
Yes, everybody. It's going to be a very nervous atmosphere. I think by the time this game kicks off, I think Iowa State is going to know that all they need to do is win.
I think Rocco is just going to put his man parts all over the face of that Kansas State defense.
He's going to need to.
If
they're going to win this game.
I think this is going. I think Iowa State's offense has an explosive night.
Mauser's going to have to do the same thing. Mauser's going to have to pull out those bloated balls of his.
I love the quote Campbell said to the team. Did you read this before the halfback pass play? He said, "History favors the bold." When they called that, and it just got my juices flowing. Iowa State's winning this football game, Chris. 27-24. Cyclones, Big 12 championship. I'll see you in Dallas next week.
QC Hawk says we don't need a crowd report. We need a turf report.
You got one. I gave you one last week. I gave you an hour with the turf guy.
But it's going to be an issue again. Because what did he say? This is
Night
the
games.
due. This time of year. Night games due. Another reason why I hate the night games.
But favors the home team.
Yes, you're right.
Favors the home team.
It should. Yeah, it should. Kansas State is another team that plays on turf. And we've seen, for whatever reason, these teams have a difficult time, at least in the first half, figuring out what they need to do before they may ultimately make a switch to different spikes. I just think this is another one of those, a game that you're going to remember for the rest of your life and not for good reasons.
What's your score prediction?
Kansas State 27, Iowa State 24.
So we have the exact same score, just the other way.
Now,
this game's exactly, it is ending in 27-24 one way or the other.
my dad says, noted turf grass specialist, it will be too cold for dew this weekend. It would freeze.
Oh, that's great.
But I think the field is going to be a little slick. I do. I think the field is going to be a little slick. But the way Kansas State plays into the field conditions, the weather conditions, the Iowa State weakness on defense. And I think you guys are going to be so far inside your heads when that game kicks off.
You're trying to put it in our heads right now. I know what you're doing here.
No, I'm
this
telling
is like
you, this
Iowa in the round of 32, and we're all out
yes,
there.
it is like that, and they're not, and that's what's going to happen. And you're going to project that onto the players. You are.
Oh, stop it!
Don't even give it to me. You are.
I am.
Yeah, you're just going to come through the press box glass from you. You're already nervous. You're already
goddamn
scared.
right, I'm nervous.
I'm
I
telling
haven't slept
you.
in 5 days.
I'm telling you. This is going to happen. And you're not going to think back
Matt,
to
I need you to mark
the
this
Texas
exact
Tech
spot.
game that Iowa State blew at home. You're not going to think back. This is going to be the game. You had it in your grasp. 2 wins to the playoff. You got a game at home against your rival. And I think that you fans are going to cost this team the victory because of your nervous energy.
Shut up. Did you know we like before the season, this is pretty much the exact scenario we thought this game
really
against
is.
Kansas State will be for
We did that
the conference
podcast
championship
in studio when we got together
Yeah.
to shoot the Murph and
for
Andy
Iowa
stuff.
State.
Sure.
And this is exactly where we had them.
And here we are. Here is the opportunity. You win this game. You get to the Big 12 championship game. You finally get your 11 a.m. kick. Who do you want to play?
And I was right, by the way. 9-3 would be
Shut up,
disappointing.
Alex. Who would you rather play?
I think I'd rather play BYU. I don't want
Is it
𝗀cie𝗶𝗹. I don't want a piece of him.
BYU.
Is that
Would
even
they be
possible?
the biggest long shot? I guess you would need
So it'd be Arizona State or BYU
or Colorado.
I don't think I want that team. I would rather play BYU of all of them.
I've heard a lot of Iowa State fans or seen it on social media that they want to play Colorado.
Well, that'd be cool.
It would be a bigger spot for Iowa State. I think they
Yeah.
would get a bigger bump off that win, and it would be really cool to play Coach Prime and maybe the top 2 picks in the draft.
I just don't want a piece of 𝗀cie𝗶𝗹. Like
yes,
that's
that's Arizona State's the last team I would want to play.
Yeah,
if I'm Iowa State because of what 𝗀cie𝗶𝗃
Shedeur
is.
would be tough too. I mean, he can do it all.
Oh God, yeah.
But I like Iowa State's D-backs against that Colorado passing attack. So I don't. Definitely, if I had a choice, I would play BYU of all those teams. Get up.
I agree. I think BYU first, then Colorado, then Arizona State.
Get up. It's game day.
Get up. It's game day. Chris Williams and Chris Hassel take a look at this week's best games. Powered by Game Day Men's Health.
I was in Game Day Men's Health yesterday, and my gal who electrocutes my elbows told me one of our listeners came in and is getting his elbows electrocuted now.
Really? He's like,
Yeah.
You know what? I heard Chris Williams' elbows are as loose and limber as they've ever been.
Oh, it's great.
Give me one of your elbow shots.
They got all sorts of
electrocute.
neat
Okay.
little gadgets in there.
Sit on down. What would you like me to electrocute today? Well,
Top 3 games of the weekend. I'll let you go first.
me?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, God, I hate the way you put this in the rundown. You don't put who. Jesus Christ.
What is my problem?
Well, you didn't put. You put top 3, and you just listed 6 games and didn't put like who.
Sorry. it
Which
was
games
late.
which.
That's why we have the
Which
graphics. I got you.
games which. Okay, I'll follow you, Van Winks. Does it say mine?
You do
It
the
doesn't.
first 3, and then I'll do the next 3. Jesus, it's
All right.
not that difficult.
Uh,
Your negative energy, you're ruining the show. This is your fault.
Maybe it's my negative energy that's going to cost Iowa State the game. I'm going for. I want to see some college football playoff chaos this weekend.
Yeah.
Miami is at Syracuse. If Miami wins, they are in the ACC championship game. But Miami's been playing with fire a lot. This game is in that dome. Weird things happen. Syracuse is not a bad team. I want to say they're 8-3. Line is somewhere around 11. I think this could get a little weird. Could get a little wild.
Stay tuned to
could
locks,
get a little
baby.
woolly. Okay. And if that happens, then Clemson would be in the ACC championship game.
Unless my Cox. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Championship
non-conference game.
Who has Miami beat this year?
Whew.
Other than Florida, week 1, which
Louisville.
Louisville.
Louisville was
7-4.
At Louisville was a pretty good win. But yeah, Miami hasn't played a very difficult schedule. They didn't have to play Clemson in the regular season. They didn't have to play SMU, correct?
No.
These fucking conferences. So that's game 1. Game 2 for me is another one I think could get a little bit wet and wild.
Weird. Wild.
Notre Dame at USC. This is the game where USC could try to salvage their season here. Like, this is the game that Iowa didn't get. You know, when you lose these games, you're out of the playoff race, you're out of the Big Ten race. You want a top 5 team coming into your place with a chance to upset them and salvage your season. USC has that opportunity here. USC has talent. Notre Dame's been rolling everybody. Could USC pull this upset and knock Notre Dame out of the playoff? That's the CBS game at 2:30. And then my last game of the week is obvious. It's Texas at Texas A&M, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. This game is for the right to go to the SEC championship.
Yeah.
Despite
Georgia.
3 losses for A&M, they win this game, they are in the SEC championship game against Georgia. Imagine
the real
that.
winner is Tennessee because they don't have to play in that game.
True. All Tennessee has to do is beat Vandy this week at Vandy,
Which is
and they're
tricky.
going to be in the playoff. It is. That's another one. I thought about putting that game on because Vandy could knock Tennessee out of the playoff, much like they may have knocked Alabama out of the playoff as well.
All right. I screwed up because I had Texas and Texas A&M on mine too, so I guess I only have 2. Well, I'm going to go with Arizona State at Arizona. Keep an eye on it. That's all I'm saying. Arizona's had a disappointing year. What could be a nice little consolation prize than knocking Arizona State out of the Big 12 championship game? And then, hey, it's my game. It's my second rivalry
Yeah, I saved
game.
this for you. This is my favorite game of the week.
South Carolina at Clemson. It's very rare that two of these teams are ranked in the top 15 when they get together. It means so much in that state. It's similar to what we have here.
This could be, Williams, a college football playoff play-in game.
Yeah, or it's definitely an elimination game.
Well, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
The winner of this game might be in the playoff.
I would agree. And South Carolina's they're actually a small underdog in this football game. So that's my favorite game of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to watch that one. Let's do our locks of the week. They are presented by our friends Tyrion Stone of Iowa.
What's my record now? I hit all of my locks last week again.
God, you've been good this year. I have not.
Jeez, I'm only 20 and 15. I thought it'd be better than that.
It's hard. It's hard to do.
I think I've hit 5 straight.
I'll start since Matt has me on top.
Okay, you're a
I
top
am
man.
Syracuse at +11 at home in that dome against Miami. I mean, Miami's played in so many close games.
Yep.
And Syracuse is good this year. They've got a really good quarterback, first-year head coach. It's done a great job. 11 points at home. Give me that. Give me that. I want that. I want Arizona State at +9.5 against Arizona at +9.5 at home against Arizona State. Same thing. They can score. I don't know how much they're going to be able to stop Arizona State. We'll see. Rivalry game. I definitely want the points there. I'm taking Houston +13 against BYU.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Is that some kind of a hedge there?
No, I don't feel like BYU's going to have anything to play for, and Death Taxes and Fritz, right?
Yeah, that's a good point there. That BYU, there's a good chance it will already be eliminated by the time that game kicks off, which we could go more in depth on this in another show, but I think that we need to start considering what soccer does and what the NFL does the final week of the season, and kicking off every in-conference game the last week of the season at the same time, so we don't get situations like this.
And then my last one, I'm going to go to the NFL. Tua and the Dolphins at Green Bay. I mean, I want Green Bay -3 against the Dolphins. Tua is notoriously a terrible cold weather quarterback. It's going to be low 20s in Lambeau Field.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely taking
That's
Green Bay in
the
that football game.
Thanksgiving night game.
Yes.
Right?
So a night game, it's going to be freezing.
Yep.
I absolutely want Green Bay in that one.
And Green Bay is good.
Yeah, good team.
Although Miami has won 3 straight. They haven't played anybody
but
good.
that's
though.
when I like to bet against a team, is
Sure.
when everybody's like hot on them.
All right, I also have 4 locks this week.
Let's go.
Let's roll.
I'm with you on 2 of these big time.
Okay, you with me on Army -7 against UTSA?
I love Army and I love A&M. Definitely.
I just want to double check that Army game. That's at Army, Van Winks. I just want to double check that, make sure that's.
Let me check for you.
Yes, it is. You're right. It's West Point, UTSA at Army, and Army's coming off their first loss of the season. UTSA is kind of rolling. So it scares me. They've beaten Memphis and North Texas and Temple. Anytime that Army or Navy is only a single-digit favorite, 1-score favorite, they can just roll teams once they get going downhill. It's kind of been a rough year for UTSA, considering how they've been lately. I feel better about the next game. Kansas -1 at Baylor. I love this game. I almost put this in my games to watch because both of these teams have been hot. I mean, shit. You could argue these are the 2 best teams in the Big 12 right now.
No doubt.
But the
They're
way
right
Kansas is going, 3 straight ranked wins, and now a chance to – this is it. I mean, they still need this one to get bowl eligible, right?
Yes, they got to win this one to get bowl eligible.
So They got to finish the job here at Baylor, Kansas -1. Also like West Virginia +3.5 at Texas Tech. West Virginia's been a better road team than a home team.
Which is weird.
It is. I think that's Neil Brown likes playing away from his fans.
Tech is a team I haven't been able to get a read on all year.
Yeah.
I don't know. They look really good or really bad. It's one or the other.
And I like that I'm getting the field goal and a hook, the 3.5.
Absolutely.
If it's 2.5, I don't know that I would love it, but at plus 3.5 for West Virginia, I'm going to take that. And then give me Texas A&M plus 6 at home against Texas. Rivalry game, everything on the line. Despite the loss last week for Texas A&M, they still control everything. Texas A&M, even though they have 3 losses, they win this game, they're in the SEC championship. They win that, they're in the playoff.
I thought about doing that one. I also thought about Vanderbilt and Auburn both, just taking the underdogs in all these rivalry games.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's playing Tennessee at home. Auburn is Auburn at Alabama?
Yeah, but Bama looked so bad last week. I guess
Steve asks, what about the nervous energy of A&M fans? It's not the same. All the pressure is on Texas in that game, not on Texas A&M. All the pressure is on Texas.
God, I'm going to see the Cyclone Fanatic post about you coming up later today.
I'm telling you, you guys are going to cost your team the win, whether it's not showing up to the game or the people that do show up projecting your energy on these poor 20-somethings.
The Syracuse fans are going to will their team to a win because there's
Again,
no pressure.
No pressure on Syracuse.
Centurion Stone of Iowa brings us our locks of the week here on Two Guys. That's all I got for you. I did want to give a shout out to Mackenzie and Scott, who are going to start their new show here in a few weeks.
I haven't listened to that. Was this your CW pod yesterday?
Yes, I had them.
Okay, I haven't listened to that yet.
It was really good when Mackenzie talked.
I was going to say the graphic that you're using for the show, it just makes me want to punch Scott right in the face.
Yeah.
What a goofball.
She's great. He's okay.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
She's going to carry that show. That's funny you said that because I let somebody listen to their practice show that they did. And this person, who is part of Iowa Everywhere, I'm not going to say who, is a friend of Scott's. I'm kind of narrowing it down here. But the feedback was, man, this is a really good show. And you know what would make it even better is if Scott didn't talk as much. So the good news is here, well, maybe it's good and bad. Scott doesn't listen to us, so this will never get back to him. If somebody could just
Scott's
tell him, though,
I
I think he needs to know that because it will make the show better.
Hey, Scott, talk less.
More Kenzo, less 𝗙cie𝗶𝗹.
From Hamilton, talk less, smile more.
You and your Hamilton bullshit.
Is that a line? Like, do they rap
Yes.
that, or is that
Hey,
like a
Burr
Talk
telling
less.
Hamilton?
What is it? Talk less, smile more.
I'm not even being a dick. I was hungover, and I actually fell asleep when I was at Hamilton. I seen it once. I was in Chicago. Matt, because I really don't
God
remember.
Damn you! You fell asleep during Hamilton.
Yes. Do they ever talk?
You
or do
made
they,
out during
No.
Schindler's List?
It's no, they
Do
sing
they
all the way
ever
through.
speak, or is it just raps the whole
All
time?
singing or rapping, yeah.
No,
throughout the whole thing.
that sounds like
No
torture.
dialogue.
Absolute torture.
I didn't want to fall asleep, but I had drank way too much the night before. It was like, it wasn't like, oh, this sucks, I'm gonna take a nap. It was.
What was
No,
better, Hamilton or the All American Rejects at Circa?
That was dope.
I do love me some All-American Rejects.
Oh,
That's my kind of music.
I laughed when Aiden said that hearing the Plain White Tees sing "Hey There,
Ooh.
Delilah" changed his life.
Hey
was
there,
amazing.
Delilah. Oh, I love Plain White
we had
Tees were there too.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus, who all was there?
Bubba Sparks.
Neon Trees.
Bubba Spark. Who?
Neon Trees. I heard they were there.
Okay.
I don't even know who that is, but I do.
You don't
remember
know who the
seeing them.
Neon Trees are?
Oh, I want some more.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
I know that song. I didn't know that. I've never heard of them. Some woman named Allison.
Chains?
No.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was
What?
there.
There's a singer named Alice in Wonderland? I've never heard of her.
Yeah.
You know,
She's huge. Hey, I'm thankful for you
the
guys.
Iowa
Happy
State fans
Thanksgiving.
are just so pissed off at you, Hassel. They are just going crazy.
I'm not rooting against Iowa State. I want Iowa State to win. I will be rooting hard for Iowa State. I just think you guys are going to fuck it up. Then, Winks, I don't know why you think that this is Thanksgiving music. What kind of Thanksgiving parties are you going to?
Classy ones that we're not invited to.
It's peaceful. It's calm.
And then our kids come into the mix.
Yeah.
And it's just loud and everyone's screaming.
There we go.
It's going to be a really relaxing holiday. Just kids yelling, crying,
my Halloween
wiping their
or my
snot nose all over my leg.
I'm working
awesome.
till 6 on Thanksgiving, and then we are going out for dinner at a local restaurant. We're not cooking anything. Nice. Never do.
I got my Fareway turkey thawing out. I'm gonna brine that baby and smoke it up tomorrow.
How long do you have to thaw that thing out for?
2 days.
Days.
I got a smaller turkey, but
are you gonna baste it?
Yes. Well, I'm
huge
smoking
baster.
it.
Huge basting guy. All right.
Happy
Chris
Thanksgiving,
Hassel.
everybody.
Love you guys.
Love y'all. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. Follow, like, subscribe. Do all that good stuff. IowaEverywhere.com. Click on our store link. Check it all out. We'll see you guys on Monday.